Ah, perfect. That's what I wanted. Okay, so there's a specific process that we're going to go through and talk about in this class for how to set strategy for a large-scale company. And the thing that I want to stress here is that you don't want to miss the forest for the trees. There's a lot of details to think about when you're planning strategy for a big picture company, and it's easy to lose track of the big picture versus all those details that you're working on. So the process that we talk about in this class is going to be, first of all, to do some detailed evaluation of both the external and internal environments of the company, and then kind of turn back and review what the vision, the mission, and the objectives of the company are supposed to be. And then, depending on the match between those two things, you're going to form strategy based on that match and on a SWOT analysis. And then, depending on what the strategy is that you formulated, you're going to implement that strategy and then, importantly, monitor and measure what happens after you've implemented it, and then go back, start the whole process over, depending on how your results turned out. Some perspective here on mission versus strategy versus tactic. The root words of each of these in Greek and Latin. The mission comes from the word mittere, or to send, and this is when we're talking about mission, we're talking about the overall purpose of the company. It's a very long-term perspective, and an example of that would be if an airline company wants to be the most respected U.S. airline in the marketplace. So that's kind of a big picture goal, an example of mission. Strategy is also long-term, but a little bit more focused than mission. So it's your overarching goal, and that could be if you're an airline company, for example, and your overall mission is to be the most respected U.S. airline, and one way that you've decided that you can go about that is by purchasing another airline which has really good routes and good service and everything. Maybe your one strategy is to purchase Virgin Air. So Virgin Airlines has really good routes across the Atlantic. Perhaps that is the way to go to the quickest way to become the most respected U.S. airline. And then finally, tactics are medium-range goals or objectives that fit into your strategy. So if you buy another company, one of the big things that you have to do is make sure to integrate the cultures. It's not the only thing. You also have to integrate finances. You need to integrate operations and logistics. You need to set new market targets for the company. You need to analyze overall competition. There's a lot of things that have to happen, but one of those things, for example, is integrating cultures. So we're kind of going from big picture to middle picture to small picture here. So vision, mission, and objectives. Vision we'll talk about a little bit more in a second. That's even more big picture than mission. You're going to want to consult these things each time before you make a decision about strategy. And your vision, mission, and goals, they're going to change over time. That's okay. They're supposed to change, but you don't want to forget to come back and look at those big picture issues of what is the firm supposed to be all about? What is our overarching goal? And what are the detailed goals that we have to achieve before making decisions about strategy? And then also, before making decisions about strategy, you're going to do, like I said, some analysis, strategic analysis of the external and internal environments that are confronting the company. And you're going to think about supporting organizational arrangements, which means how are you actually going to implement things? What's the organizational structure? Who are the people involved? What are the budgets involved? So forth. So, vision, first of all. The biggest thing I'd say about vision is you want it to be elegant. It should be inspiring and paint a really vivid picture. And it should be short. It's obviously it's an overarching long-term picture, but it's a big picture and it's one sentence. So, you know, if we talk about Cal State as an organization, I think our vision is to. It's hard for me to remember it actually, but it changes sometimes. But I believe our vision is to empower and inspire students to reach their full professional potential. Period. It's a one-sentence statement. It's forward-looking and it's inspirational. So that's what you want your vision statement to be. Your mission statement, you want it to be more concrete, but you don't want too many details in there. So mission is used a lot for internal personnel, kind of keeping everybody on the same page about what the fundamental purpose of the organization is, helping employees to understand who we are as an organization. It kind of documents and puts out there what the values of the organization are. And it identifies what sets the organization apart, what makes it different, what makes it better than other organizations. So customer needs, customer groups, company activities and technologies. So if I extend the Cal State example, our vision might be to empower and inspire students to reach their full professional potential. Our mission might be to provide a top-level 4-year bachelor's education and targeted top-level 2-year master's programs. So it's a little bit longer than a vision statement, but it's still big picture. It's talking a little bit more about the specific activities of the organization rather than just, there's a lot of different ways to empower and inspire students. Doing it in the context of a 4-year university setting, top-level programs in certain of the 4 college areas that we have, that's a little bit more specific than the vision, but it's not getting down to we're going to accomplish this thing by this date. And that is what you want at the objective level, is concrete goals with timelines and numbers attached to them. So you want to have both strategic and financial objectives. You're basically taking the mission and the vision and turning it into specific steps that are to be achieved by certain timelines in order to reach the goal of the mission. And you want those objectives to be SMART, S-M-A-R-T, which means specific, measurable, appropriate, realistic, and timely. So getting down to the really micro level now, this class is one class which contributes to about 30 or 40 that you take overall over the course of your undergrad. It's changed a bit now that we have semesters instead of quarters, but I believe back when it was on the quarter system, it's about 40, 45 classes that you take in order to get a bachelor's degree. And those classes support the overall mission of delivering top-level education in four-year setting in certain schools, but really getting down to the details here. This class session goes from 1 until 2:15. So my goal in this class session is to deliver to you one overview of the syllabus and schedule, and one big picture lecture on business strategy, and to achieve that before 2:15 in the afternoon. So very specifically, one of each of two things delivered by the end of a certain time. So specific, measurable, appropriate, realistic. I'm not going to try and deliver 10 lectures before 2:15. Just one. It's realistic as well. Timely. It's got a number attached to it, date and time. So before 2:15 p.m. on January 23rd, I will have delivered to you an overview of our syllabus and one lecture. So numbers, one overview, one lecture specific. A lecture, a syllabus overview, one of each, making it measurable. Appropriate, it fits with what the mission is supposed to be for this class. It's realistic, there's not too much to cover in one session, and it has a date and a time attached to it. That's what objectives should have if they're complete and well planned. So there's a very specific model of strategy planning that I focus on in this course. It's called the Hambrick strategy model. And you've basically got five concepts, four areas of planning and one overarching area of planning. Arenas, differentiators, vehicles, staging are the four planning areas in detail, and then economic logic there in the middle is kind of a big picture question about how you're going to make money with your business. And this is changing frequently, but you always want to go back and refer to each time you go and make a big decision in business strategy, you want to go back, take a look at what the vision, mission, goals are supposed to be, look at what the arenas were supposed to be, and see if they still are what they were supposed to be or if that needs to change. So arenas is basically where the business is going to be active. What product are you going to produce? Which customer markets? Which geographic areas? What core technologies and competencies are you going to focus on doing internally? And which value creation stages are you going to focus on doing internally? So, if we go back to the Cal State example, overall, the goal is to inspire and empower students to reach your full professional potential. There's various value creation stages to that go from preschool all the way up through continuing ed and on-the-job training. So we as a university have decided that we're going to do the bachelor's degree chunk of that. We're not going to do high school. We're not going to do on-the-job training. We're going to do the bachelor's degree portion. But all of that is the full value creation stages of delivering that vision. So you want to ask yourself these questions on arenas. Basically, what is it that you make, or what is it that you do? who are your customers, and how do you do it internally? What are your core competencies? That's Arenas. As far as differentiators are concerned, it's about how is your organization, how is your company different than your competitors? How are you going to win? What image do you want to be attached to your brand name and your products and services? How are you going to customize them? What's your price going to be? What's the styling going to be? And what kind of product reliability are you going to focus on? So my overall statement here is basically, if you don't have a better mousetrap, you better have big guns. Like there's two main ways to differentiate. One is by being the company that has the lowest costs and the deepest pockets. So you've got the most money available and the cheapest costs. You can compete that way, or you can compete by doing something better than everyone else does and charging a premium price for it. Those are the two main ways that any company competes, is either by having something unique that you're better at than everyone else, or by having the most money and the cheapest production costs possible. So, two different ways to differentiate, and important to realize and touch base, on whether you're on track with those. Vehicles. So once you've decided what areas you want to be active in as a company and how you want to be different, how you want to be better than your competitors, the next question is, how are you going to get there? So you could do and this is at a big picture level of how you're going to get there. You could do this by doing it all yourself. Internal development. You hire all the people. You spend all the money to develop the different technologies that you need. You do it all yourself. Another way is to do a joint venture and cooperate with other organizations to build something together. Licensing and franchising is an option. So, McDonald's is a ginormous company, but it's not really as big as you might think, because the McDonald's around the corner here, the Pete's on campus here, Starbucks and Pete's are another example. A lot of franchise fast food kinds of operations have a central office, but the owner of this Pete's location here is often a local business owner. It's not a corporate employee of Pete's. Same way with McDonald's, same way with Starbucks, same way with hotels a lot of times. So if you stay at a Sheraton or a Marriott in a certain city, a lot of times that is not actually owned by the Sheraton Corporation. It's owned by a private owner, who has a franchising relationship or a licensing relationship with Sheraton or Marriott corporate. That's another way to go. A final way to go is to buy another company, kind of like we talked about in the beginning of the class with airlines, perhaps purchasing another airline in order to reach their overall mission of being the top airline in the United States. So once you've decided what you want to do and how you want to be different, you need to decide how you're going to do it. But there are a number of ways to do it. It does not have to be internal development. A lot of times the first assumption is we do it all internally. That's not necessarily always the best way to go. So staging. Once you've figured out what you want to do, how you want to be different, and how you want to go about doing it, you need to decide what are you going to do first, second, third, etc. You may not want to expand all over the place all at once. So if I talk about Cal State again as an option, we're at about 9,000 students total on this campus right now. I think for a lot of reasons we'd like to get to 5 figures and be above 10,000. The question is, do we recruit more students from Bakersfield? Are we looking at the surrounding areas in Kern County? Are we looking at more international students? We may not want to attack all of those markets at the same time. We may want to focus first on Bakersfield, then the surrounding areas, then international. We may want to focus on international first, and then longer term work on expanding our base here. But usually you're not going to go after every market at the same time, and you're not going to do everything. So in order to acquire more international students, we need to talk with various universities and various government agencies in the different countries that we're working together with. We need to set up reciprocal agreements so that the paperwork on our side is recognized by the other country. There's a number of other things that have to do. You don't do them all at once. You have to decide what happens first, second, third, and fourth. So the fourth big picture thing to ask yourself in the Hambrick model is, now that you've figured out the right mousetrap and who the customer is and how you're going to go about doing what it is that you do, whether it's internal or a joint venture or whatever, then you need to decide what comes first, second, third, fourth. Finally, tying that all together is your economic logic. And I'd say the overarching point here is, don't ever forget how you actually make a big profit. Not just a little profit, but a large profit, because you're going to need it. You're going to need a healthy profit margin in order to be able to change, to deal with mistakes, to deal with uncertainty as it comes up, not because you're greedy necessarily, but because you need to have enough profit margin to be able to deal with change and uncertainty. So, as I mentioned a little bit before, there's basically 2 ways that you can make money as a company. You can either have low costs, so you might do that by having very, very large production operations so that the cost of individual items in that production operation is low compared to the overall operation. You might have low costs by focusing on scope and replication. So a lot of consumer products companies sell multiple kinds of consumer products. So a company like Procter & Gamble is really good at marketing soap. So if they're good at marketing soap, they're probably good at marketing toothpaste too. And they're probably good at marketing paper towels too. So that's a low cost through scope. You use the same, not scope the mouthwash, scope the breadth of activity that you're in. So you might have a very large and competent marketing operation, and then you spread that across many different products. You might achieve low costs by investing a lot in your research and development and coming up with design and process improvements. You might not focus on low cost. You might actually focus on high prices, premium prices, because you have either the best product on the marketplace or you have some kind of proprietary features that only you have. So whatever it is, you need to know in your overall strategy, how is it that we make a big boatload of money, basically. So those first 4 things, arenas, differentiators, vehicles, and staging, after you know that, make sure that you know how the profit is made out of those 4 things. So some questions some questions to ask yourself about whether your strategy works well. The map that I showed you before of vision, mission, goals, strategy, external environment, basically, and implementation strategy. One thing you want to ask is how well does the right-hand side of the map fit with the left-hand side of the map? If they don't fit well, your strategy is probably not going to be a winner, and that's why you keep going through this process of comparing your environment, your strategy to your vision, mission, goals, and seeing if they still match. You want to ask yourself, how long can your advantage last? So the differentiators part of your handbrake model, everything changes in the world. Nothing really stays the same. The question you want to ask yourself is, how long can you be the best at making this product? Or how long can you have the cheapest costs? And be cognizant of that when you're making decisions, and realize that at a certain point you're going to have to change your strategy because you're no longer the best product, or you're no longer the cheapest product. And then finally, how are you performing against the record books? So, financial performance, measured employee and societal impact, like profits and documented employee practices and community reinvestment practices are that's the scorecard of who's winning and who's losing in business. And at the end of the day, if you can't measure your financial performance, if you can't measure your non-financial performance, then you have no way of deciding whether you're being successful or not. So whether the strategy is a winner, very important as well to ask yourself whether you are properly and accurately measuring your impact as a company. So let's see here. 151. We're probably going to get done a little early. Does anybody have a problem with that? Okay, I didn't think so. So just a couple more slides. First of all, there's 3 levels of strategy that we'll talk about in this class. Headquarters level, strategic business unit level, and functional business unit level. And as an example, going back to Cal State again, the headquarters strategy is down in Long Beach, I believe. That's where our chancellor's office is. There's 23 different Cal State campuses. Each of us serve a certain section of the population of California geographically. So the strategic business units are basically the 23 different Cal State campuses. So CSUB here is one of these 20. If this were Cal State, there would be 23 of these boxes rather than 3. And Cal State Bakersfield is one of those 23 boxes. And then business functional area-wise, we've got 4 colleges here. We've got College of Business and Public Administration. We've got Natural Sciences, Mathematics and Engineering. We've got Arts and Humanities. And we've got Education and Social Sciences. So those four colleges are our business functional units here. And any company is going to have that level of breakdown that we're talking about in this course. So depending on which week of the lectures, we're going to be talking at different levels of that hierarchy. Getting back to the textbook for a second, this is basically a map of how the chapters in the textbook fit in with our lectures. We're going to have a week, vision, mission, so forth is what we're talking about right now. That's today's lecture. Next week we're going to be talking about case analysis and the strategy game, so we're not going to have a lecture per se next week. We're going to be talking about the details of how the graded elements of the class actually work. Then we're going to have a lecture on external environment. We're going to have a lecture on internal environment. We're going to have a lecture on business level strategy. We're going to have a lecture on competitive rivalry. We'll have a lecture on corporate level strategy combined with acquisitions and restructuring, combined with cooperative strategy. They're all going to be kind of combined into one lecture. We're going to have a lecture on international strategy, and then we're going to have a lecture basically on one on corporate governance and one on implementation. So these 4 chapters here are going to be combined into 2 lectures in our course. But that kind of gives you an overview of how the chapters in the book map to our schedule. I wanted to say a couple words about emergent versus deliberate strategies. Most strategies are largely emergent, and that's okay. Just an emergent strategy means that you didn't get to where you thought you were going to get to when you started. You start out thinking that you're going to do one thing, and as you evaluate the environment, as you evaluate how to implement things, you go back and look, and hey, that isn't actually what we originally wanted to do. That's okay. But it's called emergent rather than deliberate. So you see here, there's unpredicted changes that happen that then become a new emerging strategy, which then links back to being a realized strategy. The important thing here is to just pay attention to what you originally planned on doing and what is actually happening. And if they're different, that's okay, but ask yourself whether where you're going is where you want to go or not. And if not, make changes at each step along the process as you go through that strategic planning loop. So, business model. I think I got just 2 more slides here. Your business model is a blueprint for delivering value. And it's a really useful top-level planning tool, again, for not missing the forest for the trees. It's kind of a cheat sheet to manage about your cheat sheet to memorize about your strategy. It's got 3 elements to it: value proposition, profit model, and resources needed. So the first question you ask yourself in the business model is, what is it? What value do I deliver from the customer's point of view? So as an educational institution, the value that we deliver to you guys is you get a piece of paper at the end of 4 years or 2 years, depending on community college, that says you have a bachelor's degree and you have certain knowledge and skills and abilities. Hopefully, if we've been successful with our Career Center, you have a piece of paper, certain amount of knowledge and skills, and a job in the career you wanted to go into. Like that should be the value that we deliver to each of you. If you don't get that, then I think personally we're not doing our job as an institution, and we should be delivering that to everybody as they walk out the door. A piece of paper, a concrete set of knowledge and abilities, and a job in the field that you want to go into. Profit model. So understanding what the value is from the customer's point of view is the first thing. Second thing is, how do you make money? So what are and that comes in 3 chunks. How does money come in? What are the variable costs? And what are the fixed costs? So in the example of education again, money basically comes in from tuition from you guys. It comes in from a large budget from the state of California, which is then passed out to each of the 4 colleges in a certain way internally. So money-wise, we get a big chunk of money from taxpayers of the state of California. We get a smaller chunk of money from tuition from you guys, and we get money from a couple other sources like international tuition and the continuing ed that we make off of Open University. But those are our basic revenue streams. Variable costs. Variable costs, to a certain extent, are professor salaries. So in order to have a class, you got to have a professor to teach it. My salary is, to a certain extent, partially fixed and partially variable. If I didn't deliver any classes, I probably wouldn't have a job here anymore. But sometimes I deliver 4 classes, sometimes I deliver 3, sometimes I deliver 2. Every once in a while I deliver 5. I get paid the same amount no matter how many courses I teach. Our adjuncts, we actually pay them per class. So anytime you have a cost which is repeated each time you sell your product or service, that's a variable cost. A fixed cost is something like the depreciation on the property here. You know, the desks that you're sitting in, this building, they get old. Each year they get older, they're worth less money. And to a certain extent, it doesn't matter if we have 10 classes in this room or 1 class in this room, the value of the building is still going to go down each year. So there's certain fixed costs that we're going to have as an institution, no matter how many courses we offer. So understanding what the value proposition is, understanding how the money comes in and how it goes out are both important. And then finally, understanding what resources you need in order to be successful doing that. So if I talk about revenues coming in are money from the state of California and a couple different types of tuition. So we have to have a sugar daddy, sugar mama as it were, like the state of California. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So you got to have a relationship with the government entity and a good working relationship. We need to have attractive product offering. You know, we need to have offer courses that you guys want to take. We need to have an environment in classes with professors, hopefully, that are enjoyable for you guys. So we need those resources in order to bring the revenues in. Segueing off of that, our biggest variable costs, the professors for the classes, we need to have good quality professors in here if we're going to be successful in delivering the product. And then finally, the overhead costs, like the building, we need decent buildings which are going to hold their value as well as possible and not crumble after 5 or 10 years. You know, we need good quality buildings, we need good quality professors, and we need a good relationship with the state of California. So those are the resources needed. So summing that all up, to kind of if I memorize off the top of my head, what business am I in being Cal State University? I'm basically delivering a piece of paper, your diploma, a certain set of knowledge and skills, and a job. Like, that's what I should be delivering for you guys. If I'm not, then in my opinion, you might find other opinions on that across the campus. We certainly do not find 100% of our students your dream job after graduation, but I personally believe that should be our goal. You should have a diploma, skills, and a job, a good job after you graduate. And in order to do that, we basically have to have a good relationship with the state of California, and we need to have an attractive course offering for you guys. We need to have good quality teachers, and we need to have good quality facilities. Memorized off the top of my head. You should be able to say that about the business that you're going to be working in. You should be able to say off the top of your head, this is the product, these are the costs, these are the resources that I need to be successful at it. So that is about 3 of those slides are going to be part of your case analysis that you're doing as groups. So we'll talk more about that in coming class sessions. It's 2:04 right now. Let me touch a couple of other points and we'll call it a day. First of all, I want to manage expectations a little bit about my availability. This class represents about 1/10 of my total job as a professor. So I have 4 different classes that I teach. I'm also an author, and I have to publish on a regular basis. And I have certain committees that I'm a part of on campus. I have certain advising roles that I have to meet on campus and so forth. So I encourage all of you to email me, call me, text me, visit my office hours as often as you want. If I do not respond immediately to your email, it doesn't mean that I didn't get it. Especially if you're sending me an assignment, like I asked all of you to send me your professional development plans and a LinkedIn connection. I did not send an email back saying, okay, I received it. Just because you don't get an email back saying I received it doesn't mean I didn't receive it. It just means that I only have so much time available to me, and I can't always respond immediately to things. If you have an actual question that you need me to answer in an email, I'll try to get back to you as quickly as I can, usually within 24 hours or less. Grading, I have probably 160 plus students overall. When you turn things in, for example, your professional development plans and your LinkedIn profiles, it may take me a couple of weeks before I actually get my feedback to all of you on what I want you to do over the course of the semester on those things. Just realize that I am working diligently on getting it done, but sometimes I've just got so many things to grade that it takes me a little while. I talked about that. I talked about the grading scale and the fact that there are, as opposed to prior classes that I had, your case papers and your Globus analysis paper are going to be graded on a subjective curve. So there's going to be a certain number of A's, certain number of B's, certain number of C's, depending on how well your group did compared to the other groups in the class. So in the past, I sort of had a number of points and a big long list of instructions, and if you do the instructions, you get the points. This is going to be a little bit different in the fact that there are going to be a certain number of A's, certain number of B's, certain number of C's. So just want to set that expectation for you guys now. That's a new thing about my grading. And then we got the email address list back, so that's good. And the final thing is, between now and the end of the class session on Wednesday, I need you to form groups of 4 to 5 students each, okay? Any other questions? Okay, cool. I'll see you on Wednesday. Yep. You're welcome.
Thank you.
No problem. For $34.50 as well. Yep. There you go. No problem.
Thank you.
This is extended U, huh? There you go. No problem. No problem. Yes. Ferris, how are you? Good. I'm good. What's up? Send me the one, like
The last one?
yeah, the last one, not the first one. Mm-hmm. Okay. No problem. Aziz, what's up?
I just have a question. What's grade? I mean, like C or D or you don't have
To pass?
Yes.
Well, passing is a D, but
D.
if you do what I tell you, you'll either get an A, B, or a C.
Because
They're all passing.
because the other class myself, I didn't see. I did all of it. I attended to each class. Like but actually, the final I didn't.
That was part of the problem was your grade in the final.
But we did all the assignments.
I would have to go back and look and see
Yeah.
how the points came out, but the best way to get an A instead of a C in this class is to do your homework early and give it to me so I can check it and give you feedback.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Bryce, what's up?
How was your break?
It was good.
Yeah.
Back in Indiana.
Really?
Yeah.
Doing anything any important?
Yeah, just having fun with friends and family.
Sounds like a good way to refresh, right?
I wish I was still there.
You're back and everything is good though, right?
Yes.
So you've got office hours all day?
Well, until 5. Until 5.
I might pop in.
Okay, cool, man.
Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you.
No problem.